Hi, and welcome to Chamber Chat. I'm Danielle McFadden, president of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and we're here in the beautiful WellPoint Studios here at Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. TMI Properties, from affordable to luxurious, apartments for all. Boston North Company, business solutions for restaurant and retail. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection since 1925. Francis E. Proventia Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell trusts. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing the action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. Now time to introduce my guest. I'm so excited to have Chris DiBella here from DiBella Law. How are you?
I'm doing great, Danielle. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here. We were talking off air. I could have talked to you all day. But let's
It was a
bring
lot
some of
of
this
fun.
great conversation online.
Absolutely.
So you are in personal injury. Can you talk about what sets you apart from your field? And I'd like to know your story of why you got into this, because
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research before you coming
Uh-oh.
on.
All right. Yeah. No, I appreciate you having us, first of all.
Yeah.
And I've been in practice almost 20 years. So I've covered a lot of practice areas, and we've really niched down to what we feel like we do the best,
Mhm.
and that's personal injury. It really covers everything with wheels, trucks, cars,
Yeah.
motorcycles, bicycles. We also do dog bites and premise liability. But to get to your earlier question about why I got into it, when I was a kid, my brother got into a serious car accident, and I was about 12 years old. It was actually on my birthday, and we got the phone call nobody wanted to get. I distinctly remember it even to this day. I remember what the kitchen looked like in a very old house of
Yeah.
mine that I grew up with. They answered the phone and said that my brother had been in a serious accident. So my father jumped in the car, went right down to the scene, and it really just stuck with me because I remember what my family went through. We were very blue collar. It was, struggle with the bills that racked
Mhm.
up and seeing my brother in the hospital and watching his recovery. So I had a real deep sense of what my clients were going through. So I really wanted to perfect that and really make the most stressful time in their life
Yeah.
be as seamless and easy as possible from our end. So the staff really tries to take it from that approach, a real empathetic approach where we can really simplify that area of
Right.
the practice for them.
That's huge. I mean, you bring that sense of empathy that not everybody else can bring because you've been through it and it's stuck with
Right.
you, like you said.
Well, the other thing is I'm grateful, because we have such a great team, is our team. I think, it probably comes across in the hiring that that's what we care about.
Mhm.
But I get so many compliments from the staff and how empathetic they are on the phone. And we make a point where so many people are like, just close the deal and get off the phone. I say, listen, you take as long as you need on the
That's
phones.
great.
And I literally will get, people sending cards and letters and like, oh my God, I love Stacy, I love Tina.
Oh, that's the
But they'll spend
best.
an hour on the phone
Right.
because they really empathize with what people are going through, and that's really what they love, and it comes through. So
Yeah.
it's really something we try and do firm wide.
There's not enough of that in general in the
Yeah,
world, right? You get call somebody like, "Hey, what do you want?" Like it's
yeah,
just
right.
so to have somebody that's gonna talk to you and be kind, just it makes such a big
It,
difference.
it it really does because our catchphrase is every case is personal, and we really try and take that on from the very first call. So we send clients like a gift box, and it will have a book that I wrote that kind of outlines the whole process for them, so it
Hmm.
demystifies what they're going to experience. It has a journal for them to journal their progress and their
Wow.
treatment. And then, Stacy will be listening on the phone and realize that they have a dog or they're a pet lover, and she'll sneak like a pack of treats in, or
Aw.
everyone's always listening to try and ramp up what
Yeah.
goes in that box to make that personal approach with the clients,
Yeah.
which is nice.
That's really great. And you kind of take that approach to being involved in the community as well.
We do. Yeah. The staff loves all the community stuff that we do,
Yeah.
and I let them pick a lot of what we do, but we do an annual scholarship. So anyone that's listening, we have a
Awesome.
$1,000 scholarship that's coming up for college students, and I have three kids, one that's already in college, so I know how expensive this stuff
Yeah.
is. So anybody that's looking for some help, jump on our website, thebellalawoffice.com. It should have it under the resources tab, I believe.
Great.
But we do during the pandemic, we did diaper drives, we did formula drives because they were in such short supply.
Hmm.
We do good deeds campaigns where people can um, they can suggest something that's somebody that's in need, somebody that's struggling with a heating bill or groceries. And so we
Wow.
really try and stay very involved in the community just because it's what the staff really enjoys doing, probably the
Yeah.
most of what we all do.
That's great that they get to help kind of navigate and select kind of the
Yeah,
projects and things
something
that you're
close
going to
to
be
home for
involved in.
everybody.
Yeah, that's really nice. What are some of the most common cases that you handle when it comes to personal injury and the relevance that ties into local business?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. We do a lot with local businesses from, helping buy their buildings to negotiating contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And from the personal injury side, a lot of what we do with premises liability,
Yeah.
where people are slipping and falling or there's something defective on someone's property, we help to educate business owners. So when someone's coming
Oh,
in,
great.
we want to make sure that A, are you in the right corporate structure? Are you properly insured
Mm-hmm.
so that you're protected if someone does have an accident? And are you taking the right steps to mitigate? Maintenance
Yeah.
logs are hugely important. So we always say in my office, what you don't measure doesn't improve.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they're measuring, the egress and ingress into the property and the stairs and the railings and making sure there's no safety hazards on a weekly basis, then they're going to lessen or mitigate any
Yeah.
risk that happens. So we try to go over with them, different risk factors and making sure that they control those.
Yeah, and doing that on a weekly basis, it mustn't take that long, right?
No,
Especially once you get in the habit of doing it. It's
you make a checklist and
yeah,
you say, hey, somebody goes out and checks these 10 places.
yeah.
It makes a big difference.
So if somebody's listening or watching and they are a local business and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never even thought about doing anything like that, can they call you
Oh,
and
100%.
set up a meeting just to kind of talk about that?
Absolutely. And we can give them sample logs and things that would be helpful
Yeah.
checklists for them to go over.
Oh, that's great. Maybe we should do a seminar sometime. Just throwing it out
Yeah,
there.
I'd love
That'd
to.
be great.
Love to.
How has technology changed the landscape
Oh,
of
It-
Lauren?
yeah, we talk about this. We might even been talking about this
Yeah.
before we went on air, and it changes everything. We have since the pandemic, especially, I feel like it accelerated everything that
Absolutely.
was happening. But we have so many more appointments over Zoom. We do court over Zoom, not all the time, but sometimes. We do scheduling online, so you don't just have to call the office.
That's
You can
great.
do Calendly and
Which
schedule.
is nice too, because if someone thinks about it and it's 11 o'clock at night when
Yeah.
we have, you can just,
When is someone
yes,
free?
yeah,
We have 24-hour chat. We have 24-hour call center. We utilize AI a ton to
Yeah.
simplify the workflow in our office. And we also have a smartphone app. So you can go
Wow.
on and it is, I'm not just putting it out there, but it is fantastic.
You look pretty pumped about it.
It's
Just like saying
literally,
it.
if you get into an accident, it'll show you to the nearest garage, to the
Wow.
hospitals, to Uber. It's from where you are. It'll find safety for the local police departments.
Wow.
And it'll also allow you to take pictures, track your progress in terms of how your treatment's going. You can take pictures and videos of the
It's
scene,
incredible.
and you can, convey that back and forth to our
Yeah.
office so that we can see that in real time, which is great.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's different too. I mean, we talked about what sets you apart, but I feel like some of these things as well.
Yeah, yeah. We've tried to, I mean, you and I both have young kids and they're
Yes.
so far advanced on the technology. And I feel like if we're not staying up with it, we're falling behind with the next generations that they use it almost exclusively.
Absolutely.
So we really try and embrace technology.
So what about somebody who has not embraced technology, and
That's a good question.
will you still meet with them in person? You're not going to say we have to meet over Zoom.
Yeah. No, yeah. My parents are a great example, right? And, they would never go over Zoom or anything like that. So we have 4 offices located throughout the state. So we have a lot of convenient locations for people.
Yeah.
We're in Burlington, Andover, Methuen, and Boston. So anybody that wants to meet at any one of those offices just needs to make
Excellent.
an appointment. We get them in right away.
What's the first thing someone should do if they're injured? Is it call your office?
Well, first,
Ideally.
they want to make sure they're okay. That
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
simple, but I've been in a couple accidents myself, and when I was in an accident, I remember I had my 2 boys in the car, and I looked to see how they were doing, and my son next to me started crying because my face was gushing blood. So I had
Oh
hit the
my
steering wheel. I didn't
gosh.
feel it.
Yeah.
So, the first thing you want to do is obviously make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you want to do is just make sure you document the scene, take any pictures or videos that
Yeah.
you can, talk to any witnesses that might be there.
Mhm.
The more that you can document, it's great. I have a ton of cases, and what we see is people are often very trusting. You get into a car accident, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I was at fault. anything I can do, want to help you. And then you find out after you report it to your insurance company, they're telling a very different story.
Absolutely.
You're like, no, he was on his phone, or he wasn't paying attention, or he jutted out of nowhere. So the more objective evidence that you have
Yes.
is better. So the more you can document, and a lot of that stuff disappears very quickly. Although, we've had a great deal of success with a lot of people have Ring cameras. I don't know if you have one,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of
yeah.
your business owners in town likely have Ring
Yes.
cameras at their establishment. I have one on my house, and we've had instances where there've been hit and runs, and we've been able to track through people's
Wow. That's
houses, knocking on
incredible.
doors, where that person went,
Yeah.
and get a better view of their license plate in one of those Ring
Wow.
cameras. So just documenting the scene as much as possible
Yeah.
is important, and then calling an attorney right away.
Mm-hmm. Calling you.
Yeah.
He's being modest, but we know who we're going to call. What is the timeline for a case like this?
That's a question I get all the time.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
it could be, it could be a matter of months. It could be a matter of years. And the biggest driving force behind that is how long does it take you to get better? Because what you don't want to do is settle a case, say at 3-4 months,
Yes.
when you have another 6 months of treatment. Because now you're leaving money on the table. You don't know the full extent of your injuries, how well you healed, the full extent of your medical exposure with the medical bills. So really, the question is how long from the time you're done treating. We do have a 3-year statute of
Yeah.
limitations for most, not all, personal injury cases in Mass.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of time, and you want to make sure that you're putting in the most comprehensive case that's going
Yes.
to accurately reflect all of your injuries and damages.
Yep.
So some cases, you might have a dog bite that it takes a couple months for the wound to heal, and it can go very quickly. Some, people are in hospitals and rehabs for months and months and months, and the biggest thing is just documenting what you're going through.
Yes.
We tell people the biggest thing is that you forget when you go back 6 months
Oh
and
my
you say,
gosh. Yeah.
what was it like? You remember the high level stuff, but you don't
Right.
remember the sleepless nights.
Yep.
You don't remember when you relied on mom or dad or a neighbor or a spouse
Right.
to help you shower or to care for the kids. So we give everyone a journal, and you can also do it on the iPhone app to just
Yeah.
in real time.
Sense.
And for the people that don't utilize those things,
Yeah.
they call us once a week and just say, hey, how was this week? And we make notes
Oh,
about it.
wow. That's great.
So
Yeah.
those are things that are important for
Yeah.
people to do, because some cases do take a long time.
I'm sure there's people that look forward to that weekly call too.
You
You talk to your wonderful staff.
yeah, they do, and some of our
Yeah.
staff, are just, they love being on the phone. We have some
Yeah.
great clients, and I can think of a few I just had a phone call with this week, and if they're watching, they'll know who they are. And you enjoy talking to people
Yeah.
that you work with and care about.
Yeah, and you're helping.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Right.
How do you value a personal injury? Like, you determine that.
Yeah. Well, that's another one that's can be a bit more complicated,
Yeah.
but everybody wants to know up front, how much is my case worth?
Right. Yeah.
And you don't always know, right? Because you don't know if you're going to treat for 3 months or 6
Yeah.
months or 12 months. You don't know what your scarring is going to look like, because what the scarring looks like on the date of the accident is going to be very different
Yeah.
from 12 months. And you want to see, doesn't mean that there's not value in both of those, but the permanency piece is going to be much different. After 12 months, this is what I'm living with.
Yes.
Or if you have a lack of range of motion in a body part that broke an arm or a finger, any, ankle. So a lot of those things take time, but your basic elements are going to be your medical bills, your
Yep.
lost wages, pain and suffering, emotional distress, your quality of life changes. Have you been grossly reliant on family members or other people? And then the one that people don't think about enough is how the liability plays into it. So in Massachusetts, we're what's called a modified comparative negligence state. So if you get into an accident,
Yeah.
it's okay for you to be at fault as well, as long as you're not more at fault than the other party. So let's say it's a $100,000 case, and I'll make it simple because math. I went to school for law.
We made a
not
joke.
for math,
I
right?
said, now with AI, we can't add. Now we're not going to be able to write.
Right.
So, yeah.
But if a $100,000 case, and let's say the jury or the insurance deems me to be 30% at fault, that's going to come out of the value of the case. Doesn't mean you don't have a case,
Oh,
but that
interesting.
$100,000 case is now a $70,000 case. So they reduce the value of the case based on my contribution of negligence. Now, if you get rear-ended and it's clear, or there's a dog bite and it's clear, because
Yeah.
in Mass we're strict liability, then there's 100%. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors that have to be taken into account before you can really make that. And the little bit further as we get along, we'll talk to the client about ranges and ideas, and sometimes you have to put things in suit to get that full litigation. I mean, to get that full value of the case.
So I think it all comes down right to the documentation, right, and getting as much information as
That's
you
right.
can. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So what should someone do if they're contacted by the other party's insurance company after an accident?
That's a really good one. And so oftentimes what you'll see in an accident is these insurance companies for the other side will want to jump out and get a hold of somebody before they get an attorney, because they want to nail them down to a recorded statement.
Yeah.
Because, like I tell anybody, if you tell the same story over a year and a half, 4 different times, something's going to differ. You could say it was partly cloudy, then it was, drizzling, then it was a sunny day, and it could be insignificant to the case.
Yes.
But if there's enough things like that, they're going to try and paint you as somebody that's being inconsistent and not truthful. So we don't like to have any of our clients give a recorded statement with an insurance company. We want to be there. We want to be part of it. And if there is going to be a recorded statement, that's going to be a deposition as part of litigation. So we tell people, you're not contractually bound to give the other side a statement. Your insurance company is different. But we would say, hold off. Let's make sure that we're the mouthpiece, because what we say about the case can't be used against them. What they say can. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're controlling the narrative and making sure that we're in charge of what's coming out.
What about with their insurance agent?
So with their insurance agent, they don't often reach out to the same for a liability perspective, but we do. We just recently did. And we just want to make sure that we're going over with the client the high points, and we're preparing them for what they're going to experience. Because, on a much more escalated scale, I can tell you, people that go to trial for the first time, they may know it inside and out. I've had clients say things for the first time. Now, I've been with them for 3 years, and they say it out of sheer panic. They say it because they want the questioning to end and they want to move on. Yeah. And they're, there's a lot of nerves that go into it, and they just say things that the other person wants to hear to move on. And so that's where really good preparation comes in. So we do the same thing at the earliest stages.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, goodness. I'm just picturing that happening. You'd be like, what the heck? I've never heard that in my life. If someone's partially at fault for their own injury, can they still seek compensation?
Yeah. So just to touch back on what we talked about a little bit earlier. So you can.
Yeah.
But... So you definitely can, so if someone's at fault, let's say the other person, I may be speeding, but you crossed the double yellow line, came in my lane, and they're more at fault. You definitely still can recover. It's just going to reduce the amount of your value, but it's still worth pursuing. And if you don't know, because, a lot of times these police reports have codes in terms of who's at fault, which, myself and the staff can, translate for you. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely make sure anyone talks to an attorney and make sure that they fully understand, because just because you may have played a potential role in it, you still can recover.
Okay, great. We kind of talked about this. How does your firm handle communication with clients throughout the case? We've kind of woven that into the whole conversation.
Yep. One of the big things that I will say that we've woven in a lot more in the last couple of years are text messages. So I feel
that's the best. You can just read it, respond.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like
convenient.
Everybody texts much more than I feel like emails very used, it's used a lot more for business communication. But a lot of people don't check their email. Unfortunately, it's like a third arm for me, my phone, and I'm always responding. But a lot of people aren't the same way, but they are with text.
Absolutely.
And we found that the response rate's a lot better with text. So we've tried to incorporate that into all of our regular communication. That's but we'll poll the client at intake. How do they prefer to communicate? Email, text. Some people just like phone calls. Yeah. With Zoom, in person. So
we try to my house over tea. No, I'm kidding.
But we try and integrate whatever they prefer.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I feel like with text too, you're more likely to respond right away versus like there'll be times if you read an email and you just get sidetracked.
Exactly.
Text, it's just.
And a lot of times people to that point, they're like, yep, I got to go back to that. And then they forget.
Yes.
Where text, I think, is a little bit more top of mind.
It's great. You really cater to your clients.
We try. We try and make
cutting edge on what you do.
I mean, the client experience is literally at the forefront of every part of the process that we do.
Yeah, you can tell. It's great.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to cover today? I'm already planning our next podcast, by the way.
I'd love to. And you got to come in.
I would
to
love
our
to do
that. No, I mean, just anybody knows if they ever have any questions, we're always available. there's no cost. One of the misconceptions that people have is, and it holds them back from initiating a lawsuit or starting, is that they don't understand that with us and with a lot of attorneys in the personal injury realm, it's a little bit different than other areas. So they're not paying anything out of pocket. So if you do feel like you have a claim, it costs you nothing to find out. All consultations with us are free.
Yep.
And if we'll let you know if you have a case. And even if we sign you up, and I don't want to say we're very rarely wrong, but we don't usually take cases that don't have value and don't have somebody else at fault. But we don't get paid unless we get you money, and we only get paid out of what money we get for you. So no money's ever coming out of the person's pocket. It's an important thing for people to know.
If somebody's on the fence, they're thinking they might want to contact you, they're not sure. If they come to you, they contact you, can they still say, okay, forget it, I don't want to go forward?
They can say that at any
Yeah.
So we even have cases that we've signed up, and it's still their case.
Yeah.
So which is a big part of why we want to make sure the client experience is great from start to finish, because you can leave another law firm. We get so many clients that are with other law firms that they're not getting calls back. They're not simple things, right? The number one complaint that you hear from other lawyers that they're not answering my calls. And I had a guy that only had a couple months to live, and this law firm was not calling him back, and he wanted me to take the case. And I said, listen, there's not enough time for me to do what I have to do on this case to get the appropriate medical bills and medical records, but I'm going to call this law firm, and I'm going to get somebody high enough up to make sure that they're moving this thing along. And it sounds simple, but I think that, unless you have the mechanisms in place to make sure, because, everybody's busy and it's what you prioritize, but we have built into our system a 30-day tickler. So now some people are like, you know what, Chris, I don't have another appointment, or I have 3 months of PT, or an MRI, but it's not scheduled for 2 months. We will still tickle to reach out to them in 30 days. And if for no other reason, to say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What's new? And we just log those notes. And we feel that it's better if we're going to the client rather than they're chasing us down. They're angry. They haven't heard from us. And usually people often will have something of need, of importance to tell us anyway.
I'm so glad you reached out. Yeah.
So it's something that we've incorporated that we found to be very helpful.
And you have a great team. You've built a great team.
You cannot do it without a great team.
Yeah.
And we are lucky. We just got recognized at a Game Changer Summit in Atlanta. We were one of the finalists. We didn't win, but
that's still amazing
for Firm of the Year. And it is, if you go online and you look at our reviews, or we are, one of the things I'm always shocked by is that. So I my wife, my daughter, all the kids, they want to take 100 pictures before they post one, or but so many of my clients are willing to do videos and take pictures of their experience and tell other clients about what it's like to work with us. And I'm always shocked by the amount of people willing to do that. And they're always mentioning somebody in the staff.
That's great.
And it's a big shout out to everybody there. And the other thing that we're transitioning now, we just also opened up another branch called DiBella Law Motors, where we're really trying to serve the motorcycle and veteran community.
Yeah.
We're offering discounts to them, but it's often an underserved or overlooked. There's a lot of things specific to motorcycles and motorcycle rights that we're very in tune with. We've been working with them for years, and that's something that we've really tried to niche down and help that community. So we've been putting a lot of effort into that.
That's great. Well, we can help spread the word about that. Maybe that'll be our next one.
Awesome.
Now we have 2 scheduled. So, is there anything else that you'd like the viewers and listeners to know before we wrap up?
Just that I'm so happy that you had me here today. This was fantastic, and I hope we do it again.
Awesome. We definitely will. Thank you all for tuning in to a great episode of Chamber Chat. There will be more. We'll see you soon. I just need to get out of here.